What is going on, YouTube? It is Primitive here, and today I'm going to be bringing you my EX3 BlackWarGreymon decklist profile. I recently posted a BT11 BlackWarGreymon decklist profile, and I have been playing a lot of it in BT11, which has spilled into a lot of EX3 testing as well. So I do have a list that has a couple of weirder choice cards in there that have been working pretty well for me, but I wanted to go ahead and bring you all this list, so if you are looking to play BlackWarGreymon in the current format, you can have a list that has had some pretty good success for me, and I am going to be uploading some matches with this deck over the next week or two, and so I wanted to get the list out so that way you all can see the list and maybe make some changes yourself. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Alright, so to start off, we just play the 4 Koromon. I haven't really felt like I needed the 5th egg at any point, or else I would probably play the Draw Koromon as a 5th egg, but this one is just +1 KDP. It feels very nice to have that +1 KDP. It feels like it comes up quite often, especially if you're playing something like the Mirror Match. So I just found this to be the best egg. There's nothing really too much to go about it. Now getting on into the rookies, we'll start off with the 4 Promo Agumon. This one is very key because the DP boost off of this is very strong. This is kind of the main Agumon that you want to be building on top of, so want to max out there. Then we are just going to have a bunch of searchers. We're going to have 4 of the BT5 Agumon, 4 Agumon X Antibody, and then 1 of the BT8 Agumon, just because I really want to find the consistency in this. I think this is relatively standard anyway, but the searching in this is just very nice, making it so you have this strong inheritable rookie while also just having a ton of search to be able to find your middle to top end is very good. And I'm playing the 1 Black Agumon just because when I play more, I feel like there's too many times where I can't find the Agumon X Antibody put on top of it, so that way I can get a red champion on top of it, or I just don't have the black champion, and so it does feel sometimes a little bit clunky, but the search being able to essentially hit 2 cards and reveal top 4 is very strong, so I just wanted to play it at 1 for consistency, because 12 rookies really wasn't doing it for me. I wanted to go up. I was playing the +1k Agumon, but I found the searching just to be better, just keep it consistent and have as much search as possible. Now to move on to the champions, we will be having 4 of the Blocker Greymon. This one I feel like is your best base Greymon because having the blocker with BlackWarGreymon is so strong because you can block and then unsuspend and then block again. It's also very crucial versus things like Metal Garurumon, so that way they have to strip their sources, and then if they swing into something in security, or you can block them twice, then they will go down. So blocker inheritable, very good. And then of course the 4 Greymon X Antibody. This is just very staple. It does feel very weird playing just this one and not the black-red one from BT11 doing the BT11 testing. I still think this one is very strong, but going into BT11 I think you will want to prioritize the newer Greymon X Antibody over this one, but in the current metagame, of course, you are just playing the 4 because we don't have the new one yet. Next up, we have 2 of the Security Attack Greymon, and as we're going to see later, I'm also playing the Red Tie Tamer, so I do like my extra security checks in this build, so that way you do have the ability to be defensive with the BlackWarGreymon, but also get aggressive with cards like Galmon or the BT1 WarGreymon, and so I like playing this instead of playing 2 of the BT5 Greymon, which I feel like a lot of decks are playing this reversed, but I personally really like the Security Attack. I think it gives the deck extra angles. I think being able to have these big security checks is how you're going to be able to beat decks like Grandis and stuff like that. So I flipped these 2 here, but I do like the BT5 Greymon a lot. The DP boost comes up quite often. The being able to Digivolve for 1 comes up sometimes to, you know, fill out the curves or maybe choke them at 1, but I don't think it's that insane. I think just being able to have an extra +2k DP boost if you miss your Agumon rookie inheritable, or you stack those 2 together to get +4k, it can really help you out. And then to finish off the champions is one of the cards that is probably going to be the weird ones, which is actually a Burning Greymon, which is technically not a Greymon, as you're going to see on cards like the BT5 Agumon. This doesn't technically count as a Greymon, it is a translation error, but that is not the purpose of this. The main purpose of this is, 1, it is a Dark Dragon, so it will help with cards like Dorbikmon, which we'll be going over later. It's a hybrid, which allows you to go for game, and I have been able to hybrid for game so often. This started off as just a testing thing, and now it feels very strong. But also, if you miss a Greymon to put your Greymon X Antibody on top of, you can go for Greymon X Antibody. You can Digivolve on top of a level 4 for 1, and then that's going to give you 2 level 4s, so that way you still have protection with Greymon X Antibody, even though you missed your Greymon. But this is just also sometimes you can just Digivolve for 1 to get Cycle, or if you have your Greymon and your Greymon X Antibody, You can put the Burning Greymon on the stack for 1, and then when you do use your sources to strip, you can burn this and the Greymon X antibody and keep your blocker inheritable or your security attack inheritable. Or if you have level 5 still around, you can just strip these 2 and keep the other level 4. There's a lot that you can do with it, but for the most part, it's mostly just a hybrid and a Dorbikmon target, but it has been nice to be able to Digivolve for 1 and get a little bit of cycle, but for the most part, you're going to have that Greymon and that Greymon X antibody, and you're going to want to save this for hybrid, but there is that ability to be able to cycle for 1 or set up a stack of protection if you need it for, like, if you're playing against Metal Garurumon X antibody or something, and you really know you're going to need that bounce protection, you don't have a Greymon, you can put this on there so that way you can at least get your stack up. Now moving on into the ultimates, it is going to be extremely standard, so there's not really going to be too much to say. We have 4 of the BT8 Metal Garurumon, 4 BT9 Metal Garurumon X, and then 1 Metal Greymon Alterous mode, the promo. And I feel like this is just pretty key. The Alterous mode is very nice because it does have the same inheritable as the Greymon X antibody, so being able to have protection if you miss that has been very nice. But main thing is being able to just Digivolve this on top and then being able to delete something with 5k or less and just get a little bit of cycle has been very good, but it's also just essentially it's a 5th ultimate that you can Digivolve on top of your champions, and a 4th thing that you can put on top of your Metal Greymon, because obviously you can put the Metal Greymon X antibody on top of your champions, but for the most part you're going to want to be stacking it on top of one of your level 5s so you can get that Cool Boy boost. So Alterous mode just works kind of simultaneously between these two, so that way you don't have to use these as your ultimates if you don't have to, but I think this is fairly standard. There's not too much to say. All these cards are just very strong, but I don't think there's any more room for any more ultimates than this. Maybe one more, but not in my list. Now moving on into the Megas, we are playing BlackWarGreymon, so of course we are playing 3 BlackWarGreymon. You could go up or down in this, but I really think BlackWarGreymon is very strong right now. The ability to set up the blocker, block, and unsuspend while also being able to, on Digivolve, delete Tamers just feels extremely strong, so I wanted to keep this at a higher count of 3. We are also playing 2 Gaomon, and Gaomon obviously is very strong. This is a very good blitz option, be able to de-Digivolve. You can put this on top of your BT8 Metal Garurumon, so that way you can de-Digivolve something and then swing over it, and it just works very well. A lot of decks are playing 3, but I am playing a 1 BT1 WarGreymon because this is just very good versus security style decks, whether that be Beelstar, Security Control, Mastamon, whatever. I have a very aggressive build. As we see, I have things like the extra security attack Greymons, we have the ties that we're going to go over, so it's very easy for me to be able to get 4 or 5 checks with this, not checking security options at 16 plus DP, and then being able to go for Blitz Omnimon for game. And so I didn't want to go too full in on that because I think a lot of the times if you're not playing against a security deck, going for Gaomon is a lot better, especially because you get that reboot, but there are a lot of matchups where this comes in very handy, and so I do like it a lot. Then to finish off level 6s, we have 1 Dorbikmon, and I'm not playing the whole Ragna package. I do think it's very nice, but I really just put Dorbikmon in here because I think it just suits the deck very well, especially when I'm playing things like the Burning Greymon and the WarGreymon, because it gives you a couple extra names to be able to use underneath it. But I just like the fact that this can be an endgame finisher or just a way to set up a big Digimon that can swing, put blocker inheritable under it, and have deletion effects essentially, because on play you delete something with 3k or less, but then you add 2k for every card that you digicross under the sources. So if you play all 5, you will be able to play this for 3 and be able to delete something with 13k or less. It has rush, you'll be able to swing in, but there's a lot of times where I just play it for 5, pass to my opponent's turn, delete whatever their ultimate is on the board, or if it's a weak mega, because if you're playing it for 5, that means you only have 4 sources, so it'll be for 11, but sometimes you don't have all 5, so you just have to play it for the 4 sources, 5 play cost, you delete something, and then you set up this body with potentially blockers. So I really like the Dorbikmon. I do need to do some more testing with the double Dorbik Ragna build, but for the most part, I think Dorbikmon just fits this deck very well. I kind of put it in last minute, I think last week before locals or 2 weeks ago before locals, and then ever since then I really haven't stopped loving Dorbikmon because it just really comes as a surprise for people who don't expect it, because it either is a way to go for game that's not Blitz Omni, or it's just something that's removal. So I really have been enjoying this card. And then to finish off the Digimon, we have one Blitz Omnimon. I was playing two, but I did take one out for an option card that we will go over, and you could take that option card out and put in another Omnimon if you wanted to, but we will go over that when we get to the option cards. But Blitz Omnimon, very standard. I like this over the X Antibody because I was playing Omnimon X Antibody. That's a little bit slower of a card sometimes, and it requires you to play cards like X Antibody, which we are not. As for Blitz Omnimon, just works very well. Like I said, this deck is very aggressive, so being able to swing for a bunch of checks with Galmon or Greymon or whatever, and then being able to blitz for game just has been very nice, so I have valued the Blitz Omnimon over the Omnimon X. Now getting on into the Tamers, we have 3 Cool Boy and the 2 ties that I have been mentioning. Obviously, if you want to play Hero, a lot of people are playing Hero in the tie slot, you could. I purposely have, like I mentioned, wanted to make this deck slightly more aggressive than average BlackWarGreymon build, so I like the tie. It hasn't really done any bad for me, and I have had a lot of times where I've won games that I probably wasn't going to win specifically because I was able to get the 1 or 2 extra checks that I'm getting from these ties. So if you want to play the Hero, if you find that to be better, I don't think it's going to change the deck as fundamentally enough to make that big of a difference. It's just I personally like Security Attack +1 in here, and the 3 Cool Boy because it is very strong. We do have X Antibodies on every level of Digimon that we have outside of the level 7 Omnimon, so you have ample opportunity to gain the memory, get the resources from Cool Boy, which really gets you more done on your turns, lets you cycle through your deck faster and find your pieces. Of course, Cool Boy is pretty broken. Now getting on into the option cards, we are playing 2 Red Memory Boost. I was playing 3 at one point, but I cut one of those, and then the previously mentioned cut Omnimon for the next 2 option cards that we're going to go over. But I like Red Memory Boost a lot just because it's a really good consistency card. It gives you memory, and especially with things like Dorbickmon and the hybrid, being able to gain that 2 extra memory really helps you go for game because you can clear out security. Maybe you don't have Blitz Omnimon and you're able to pop this and go for your hybrid, or maybe you have Dorbickmon but you only have 4 sources to Digicross, so it's going to cost 5. Well, you can go to 3 with tie, pop this, go to 5, play your Rush Dorbickmon, go in for game. I think it's just fairly standard. Again, I was playing 3, went down to 2, so that way I could play 2 Crimson Blaze because there's so much Bloomlord Mon and just other decks that I feel like can rush the board or play things by effects that Crimson Blaze has been very nice. I wanted to fit it in. I did play that 2. I took it out, missed it, and then previously put them back in, and I really like the 2 Crimson Blaze. Again, I cut one of the Blitz Omnimon and one of the Red Memory Boosts to be able to put these in, so if you don't like it and you wanted to put those back in, those were what I would recommend as swaps. But if you wanted to, you could also play hard removal like Gaia Force or even Atomic Blaster for other type of spread damage. But the ability to stop your opponent from playing Digimon by effects itself is such a strong effect, while also being able to play it for relatively cheap if your opponent's going wide. And there's just a lot of Bloomlord in my local area, and so I wanted to make sure that I had these Crimson Blazes. But that is going to be the list. If you are looking for the BT11 build, I will go ahead and post the link in the comments for the BT11 build that I posted recently, and so that way you can check those out. But this is what I've really been liking for EX3, so if you like it, let me know. If you would make some changes, let me know down below, because I'm definitely trying to test this deck out a little bit more and test its boundaries. But with that being said, if you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will catch you next time. I hope you have a fantastic day. Peace out.